Hi, so this is going to be a relatively short tutorial. I'm just going to bring in the Second Life model and then make some kind of accessory for it. This is as much a test to see how well it does capturing a 3D program. I haven't recorded one like this before, so I've left, this is what I got when I just opened up the mod tool, so it's split into the 4 frames. I do not like working in these cameras. The first thing I do is hover over this port up here and hit the space bar to make that take up the full space, but then go up to this drop down here and choose user from the options. It just changes the camera. This one is easier to work with. I mentioned in the text document that I use the Maya interaction model, so depending on if you've used Maya or another 3D program before, you're going to want to pick whatever is most comfortable for you. So go under File, Interaction Model, and that's where you can choose either Softimage's default one or go with the Maya one. Okay, I'm going to import the model that I downloaded from the Second Life website. So I'm going to go crosswalk, I believe just under import, and I've already navigated to it. Just click this little button with the 3 little dots and go to wherever it is you download the model to, and then just hit import. So I just drag the box around it to select it. You can close this import box now, and then I'll hit F to make it the focus of my screen. Now this is the model for doing all the rigging and stuff, so that's what it's got, all this colorful stuff. That's all for the bones and the weighting and stuff, and we're not like using any of that. So I'm gonna select everything, and then I'm gonna deselect just the mesh. Oops, sorry, wrong thing. To unselect something, you still drag the mouse and make a little box, but you hold down Control and Shift at the same time. And then I'm going to go Display, Hide, Unhide Selection. I missed a couple. Okay, so now we have just this model. The next thing I set up is the view mode that I like to work in, like whether it's wireframe or shaded or whatever. So I go up to this drop down here and I pick shaded, and I like wireframe on shaded. So I can see all the lines here, but it also looks like a solid object, so it's easier to see. Make sure that headlight is on. If headlight is not on, it'll be kind of dark. So just depending on what lights are in your scene. Like if you have no headlight on, it uses just whatever lights are set up in the scene, and since we're just using this for modeling, we're not really setting up a light setup for that. Okay, so we have our character. It says Softimage Mod Tool all over it because that's just how Softimage Mod Tool watermarked itself, but it won't show up on your model when you export it. So next, go primitive polygon mesh. Let's get a cylinder. I'm gonna say 16 subdivisions on the U segment. I'm making a hat. I should probably mention that. Now I'm going to, I didn't worry about the size of it because that's very easy to select. You can change it in that creation box, but it's just as easy to do it once you've already made the object. So to toggle through these tools, it's W, E, and R. At least it is if you're using the Maya interaction model. So use those tools to sort of position and scale this thing till it's approximately right. It doesn't have to be perfect. You can change it more after, but this is just sort of to get it roughly in position. a very awesome hat that I have here. So I'm doing this mostly just to make sure that you've found some of the sort of important controls that are good to use. I left this cylinder just default so I can show you a bit about selecting different components to add or delete them. So up here is a menu that has right now we're on object because I can select this whole cylinder or this whole character. But if we change it to edge, then it'll only let me select individual edges. Now if you're not, sorry, if you're working on something that has loops that go around it, like they call them edge loops, you can select the whole thing at once by going select up at this top menu here, select edge loop, and then it'll just let you pick the loop you want. And we're just going to delete this one because we don't actually need an edge loop there. You can also select that clipping is because I sort of pan the camera inside of the object. You can also select vertices by going point. So you can select vertices, and we're going to unselect this one again. Again, that was, I held down Shift and then Control and then drag the box to deselect. On this tool, if you notice when you sort of hover around it, sometimes there's a box that goes over the whole center, and sometimes there's a box that's just sort of on a plane. That lets you scale or translate or whatever just in the plane that's indicated by that box. So in this case, if I go like that right now, it's only moving in that one plane. I'm going to reselect this other vertice. Oops, sorry. By holding down Shift and then dragging another box, it'll keep it selected. Sorry, I keep goofing out because I'm like trying to look at my hands to see what keyboard shortcuts I'm using. I don't even know anymore. I just do them. So there, I'm hitting W to translate that up a little. I'm just beveling the top of the hat a bit so it doesn't. There's other ways of doing this, but I just want to show you how to select things. So, okay, so the other kind of thing that you might want to select is a entire face. So that's a polygon. If you go like that, but if you notice, it selects through. Now there is a way to toggle that off so that it can't select through your whole model, but sometimes it's actually faster to work with it on. It just depends what you're doing. In another video I'll show you how to change that so it doesn't select right through. But right now, if you click on a polygon, it's going to select the one on the back face as well. So just use Control Shift and then drag around it to deselect that extra polygon that got selected. Okay, so that's all the main things that you're going to need to be able to select. Another thing that you're going to need to do a lot of is to add new edges. So I'm going to go Render up to where it says Render here, and I'm going to change it to Model. These are all the different toolbar sets for your main tools. So most of what we do is going to either be on Model or on Render. Render is where you can put textures and things onto stuff. So let's go Model. And the vast majority of the editing tools we'll use are down here in this thing called Polymesh. So let's go Split Edge tool. Now, again, I'm sorry, I'm looking at my hands as I'm doing this to see how I actually do it. If you click with the left mouse button, it just makes one little vertex, which is not what we want. But if you click with the middle mouse button, it'll make a whole new edge loop. Now, when the tool is active and I hover over something, if you look down at the very bottom of the recording, you'll see that it actually says L split edge, M split all parallel edges, R terminate tool. So it's telling you which mouse button to push to get which function of the tool. It actually says it right there. Okay, so next I'm going to put that edge loop back here, and then I'm going to toggle to a different view, just hitting spacebar. I'm going to hit F to bring that into focus, and now I'm just going to select polygons. Now this is what I meant by it's kind of useful to actually be able to select through the whole thing. When I dragged over that, even though only one half of the hat is facing me, it selected the back facing polygons as well, so that means I have all the polygons I want there. Otherwise I would have had to sort of turn the hat to get the ones on the other side. So we've now got that selection of just that edge. So we're going to go polymesh, and then we go to extrude along axes. Now I always pretty much just hit 0 here in this length, which puts it back exactly where it started. But there is actually a second face there. Do not leave it there like this. You'll end up with doubled faces that cause bad things. So I put it back on my scale tool. Now I'm just going to navigate so I can see it better. And again, I'm scaling on just that one plane. And now I can scale out just that piece. Just like that. This is quite the hat I've got here. That clipping, if we scaled the whole model and hat up a bit, it probably wouldn't clip like that. Sometimes it does that if your model's a little too small. Okay, so we need a few more things on here. Let's go to wireframe. Now, in Second Life, a lot of the mesh that you see is very badly done. So it's not that the artists aren't good, it's that they're not making their models very efficient. And the more triangles you leave in things, the harder it is for it to be rendered, and therefore the slower things run. So if everyone is running around with hair and earrings and necklaces and shirts and dresses and shoes that are all crazy full of triangles, it means that it causes lag, basically. Like, there's just too much of it. So if your model, if something doesn't change the silhouette of your model, so like you know, if I turn this, these lines around the edge are actually causing the smoothness of the shape, right? But I have this extra geometry down at the bottom here that's not actually doing anything. Whether it's there or not doesn't make a difference. So to make it easier for you to see, I'm going to click this little camera here and then go isolate selection. That just makes it so we can only see the one thing. The other things are all still in the scene, we just can't see them. I'm going to go shaded. So here you can see what I mean. There's extra geometry that's just not doing anything. Now, you might actually want to give your hat an inside depending on what it's being used for, but this, just for the sake of this little demonstration, I'm going to just get rid of these. So you can get rid of them the way that I showed you before. If you go select and then select edge loop and then just pick the loops you want. Just pan around to make sure you didn't accidentally pick anything else, or you could toggle it into wireframe just to check, make sure you haven't grabbed anything you don't want to delete, and then just delete that. I'm just using backspace to delete it. Okay, so that is a very ugly but functional hat. So the other thing, which I think you were probably already playing around with, is the tweak tool. That's the other thing that I use a lot, and that's just hitting M, and then it lets you just move around whatever you want, however you want it. So let's just put this back. So that's a really good one. But the other thing I wanted to show you with that tweak tool, so I've still got the tweak tool activated, it's still an M. Click on this little button that says PROP. If you click with the right mouse button, it brings up this menu that lets you change the size. Now notice when I hover on the model, it's like selecting everything, but down at the bottom there's darker vertices, and at the top they're brighter red. That's showing you fall off. So basically the brighter red, the more the thing is going to move when I grab it. The darker red, the less it'll move. So we can actually change this down to something that I can show you better here. So let's change this distance down there. Now you can see. So when I move that one point, the other 2 points are actually coming with it a little bit too. There. So you can see it's sort of like a soft select, and it is super useful for organic modeling. So those are kind of the major things I wanted to show you. Symmetry will let you work on both sides of your model at once. I'll shut this off. So if you were doing a mask, for example, like what I do all the time, it will move it, but sometimes it gets off, like just for whatever reason. So I don't, you can work that way, but at the end, before you export your model, or if it starts getting funky, you just delete half the model. So here, I'll just show you right now. So we're just gonna pick half the model to delete. Then we select what's left and go polymesh, and then go symmetrize polygons. But you have to pick the axis that makes it work. So it'll just depend on the view of what you're doing. So just change it till it's right. So you can see that rebuilt the model again because it just it symmetrized that missing information. That's about it. I mean, this model now, you could go up to File, and then you could go Export. And I don't know if you installed it yet, but in my list, the list in that text document of stuff that you need, there's an export OBJ thing because they disabled it in this mod tool. So you have to use a plugin to get it back. The only reason we're exporting in this case is because I prefer to do my UVs in UV layout. I don't like UVing in Softimage very much. So that's why at this stage I would export to UV layout. So that's just like a super quick start, just to make sure that you got what I wrote down in the text document, and next time we'll try to do something maybe more complicated. That's about it. Talk to you later.